Chosen one, something has shifted, and you are standing at the edge of a moment you cannot yet fully comprehend. This is not just another video finding you. This is alignment. This is timing. This is a divine intersection where heaven has decided that you are ready to see what has been hidden from you until now. Anointed one, you have felt it, the tension, the pressure, the strange sense that something is about to break open in your life. That feeling is not confusion, it is confirmation. You have been in a season of preparation that did not make sense, doors closing without explanation, delays stretching longer than you expected. But what you could not see is that nothing was being denied, everything was being aligned. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 reminds us that there is a time for every purpose under heaven, and your time is no longer approaching, it is here. What is coming is not random provision. It is precise. It is targeted. It is the release of what was held back until you were ready to carry it without losing your purpose. This is not just about increase, chosen one. This is about assignment. If this message is reaching your spirit, stay connected and subscribe, because what is unfolding now was always meant to find you. And what is about to happen next will reveal why this was the final step all along. There is something you need to understand before we go any further, and it is this. The final step never looks as dramatic as people expect. Chosen. Most people imagine breakthrough arriving with noise, applause, and instant clarity, but often the last step feels like precious silence and a strange weight in the spirit that you cannot explain. That is where many misread the season. They think something is wrong because the air feels heavier. They think they missed God because the path feels narrower. But what if that pressure is not proof of delay? What if it is proof that you are standing at the threshold? Anointed one, you have been closer than you realize for longer than you know. The reason your soul has felt stretched is because you are no longer living in the middle of the process. You are living at the edge of fulfillment. The old season cannot hold you, and the new season is already pulling on you. That tension you feel is not punishment, it is transition. It is what happens when one chapter is losing its grip and another is preparing to open. You have called it exhaustion. You have called it confusion. You have called it emotional heaviness. But in the spirit, it is something else entirely. It is the feeling of a sealed door beginning to unlock. And this is why ordinary things have started feeling strange. You can sit in a room full of people and still feel like your spirit is somewhere else. You can complete the same routines, answer the same messages, go to the same places, and yet nothing lands the same way it used to. Even success that once would have excited you now feels incomplete. Even distractions that once kept you comfortable no longer satisfy. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming aware. There is a difference. Awareness is costly because once your spirit recognizes that it was made for more, it can no longer pretend that less is enough. You who have been waiting, listen carefully. This next season is not just about receiving something. It is about becoming someone who can carry what is coming without being crushed by it. That is why the road has felt longer than expected. It was never only about the door. It was about the weight of what waits on the other side of it. Divine provision is not shallow. Kingdom increase is not random. When heaven places new resources, new influence, new open doors, or new responsibility into your hands, it does not do so carelessly. It prepares the vessel before releasing the oil. It trains the hands before entrusting the harvest. Maybe lately you have found yourself waking in the middle of the night, not always afraid, but alert. Maybe you have stared at the ceiling, wondering why rest will not settle fully on you. Maybe you have felt a burden to pray when you would rather sleep, or a sudden need to pull away from noise you once tolerated easily. Those are not meaningless moments. Those are signs that your spirit is being brought into alignment. There are seasons when God comforts, and there are seasons when He awakens. Comfort lets you breathe. Awakening changes your direction. And right now, chosen one. Your life is not being wrapped in comfort. It is being redirected by awakening. That is why what used to feel safe now feels too small. That is why certain relationships feel heavy instead of familiar. That is why some conversations leave you drained instead of connected. The scale is changing inside you. Your capacity is expanding, but expansion always creates strain before it creates evidence. A seed does not look powerful when it is buried. It looks hidden. It looks pressed. It looks forgotten, but underground, something irreversible is happening. The pressure around it is not stopping life. It is forcing life to break forth. That is where you are. Not abandoned, buried with purpose, pressed with intent. Hidden, yes, but only because what is forming in you must be protected until it can stand in the light. And let me say something plainly, because you need to hear it in a clear voice. The final step is rarely external first. Before the visible breakthrough, there is an inward surrender. Before the open door, there is a closing of your attachment to what can no longer go with you. Before the elevation, there is a stripping away of the habits, dependencies, fears, and false identities that would sabotage the very thing you prayed for. Some of what has been leaving your life was not stolen from you. It was removed from your reach because it couldn't survive where you are going. This is where many become discouraged. They say, if I am so close, why do I feel so exposed? If I am so near to the promise, why does resistance seem to intensify? But that is exactly the point. Resistance often increases near the threshold because what is ahead is no longer theoretical. It is near enough to threaten everything that was built to keep you small. The enemy does not panic over a dormant person. Darkness does not waste its energy on someone content to remain asleep. The battle grows sharper when your spirit becomes dangerous to the chains that once held you. Still, do not confuse warfare with defeat. Do not mistake the shaking for abandonment. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 28 speaks of a kingdom that cannot be shaken, and that means some things must tremble so that what is true can remain. What is unstable in your life is being exposed not to destroy you, but to free you from investing your future in what could never hold your destiny. Read that again in your spirit. This is not loss for the sake of loss. This is separation for the sake of alignment. So here is the question the Spirit is placing before you in this hour. Can you recognize the final step when it does not look like celebration yet? Can you stay faithful when the ground beneath you feels unfamiliar? Can you trust that the same hand that led you into preparation is also leading you into manifestation? Because what is coming next will require more than excitement. It will require discernment. It will require courage. And above all, it will require your full yes. Because the sign that this is truly the final step is not just what is opening around you. It is what is being settled within you, and that is where we must go next. There is a shift happening inside you that is more important than anything changing around you, and if you do not recognize it, you might overlook the very thing you have been praying for. Chosen one. What is being settled within you right now is the foundation that will determine whether you sustain what is coming or lose it under pressure. This is why the final step is not just about movement, it is about alignment. It is about becoming steady where you once were reactive, becoming clear where you once were confused, and becoming anchored where you once were easily shaken. You may have noticed that your reactions are changing. Situations that once would have triggered frustration now meet a quieter response. Conversations that once pulled you into emotional cycles now feel easier to step away from. Even conflict, when it appears, no longer grips your spirit the same way. This is not because life has become easier, it is because something stronger has been built inside you. Strength in the spirit does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it shows up as restraint, sometimes it shows up as silence, sometimes it shows up as the ability to walk away without needing to prove anything. Anointed. 1. This is one of the clearest signs that you are nearing the final step. You are no longer driven by the need to be seen, validated, or understood by everyone. There is a deeper knowing forming in you, a quiet confidence that does not need constant confirmation. You are beginning to trust what God is doing in your life, even when others cannot see it yet. That kind of trust is not built overnight. It is forged through waiting, through disappointment, through moments where you had to believe without evidence. And let me be honest with you, because this is where many become unsettled. When you begin to detach from old patterns, there is often a period where you feel in between, not fully connected to what you used to be, but not yet fully standing in what you're becoming. That in-between space can feel uncomfortable. It can feel lonely. It can even make you question if you are moving in the right direction. But that space is not a mistake. It is a corridor. It is the passage between identity and assignment. You might find yourself thinking, why does everything feel so quiet right now? Why does it feel like nothing is happening when I know something should be? But what you are experiencing is not inactivity. It is calibration. Just like a compass must be still to point accurately, your spirit is being brought into a place of stillness so it can align with what is ahead. Noise would disrupt that process. Distractions would distort that direction. So certain things had to fall away, not to isolate you, but to focus you. There is also something else taking place that you need to understand. Your sensitivity is increasing, but not in the way you might think. You are not becoming fragile. You are becoming discerning. You can feel when something is off before it is spoken. You can sense when a door is not meant for you, even if it looks appealing. You can recognize when an opportunity carries weight beyond its appearance. This is the sharpening of your spirit. This is what prepares you to navigate what is coming without being misled by surface-level appearances. This is also why some opportunities have not worked out the way you expected. It was not rejection in the way you thought. It was redirection with precision. Not every open door is a divine door. Not every opportunity is aligned with your assignment. And at this stage, you are being trained to discern the difference. Because what is coming will not require you to chase everything. It will require you to recognize what is yours and have the discipline to ignore what is not. There were times before when you would have said yes too quickly, when you would have stepped into situations that drained you, distracted you, or delayed you. But now there's a pause in you, a hesitation that is not fear, but wisdom. You are learning to wait for confirmation instead of reacting to pressure. You are learning to move with intention instead of impulse. And this is critical because the final step cannot be taken impulsively. It must be taken in alignment. Think about the moments in your life when you rushed decisions because you felt urgency, only to realize later that the urgency was not from God, it was from pressure. That pattern is breaking in you now. You are no longer easily moved by external expectations. You are becoming responsive to internal leading. That is a shift from living by circumstance to living by calling. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31 speaks about those who wait on the Lord, renewing their strength, mounting up with wings like eagles, running and not growing weary. That waiting is not passive. It is active alignment. It is positioning yourself so that when the moment comes, you're not scrambling, you are ready. And readiness is exactly what is being formed in you right now. There is also a refining of your desires happening. Things you once chased no longer hold the same appeal. Goals that once defined your direction now feel incomplete. This is not loss of ambition, it is transformation of purpose. Your desires are being brought into agreement with your assignment. And when that alignment happens, what you pursue will not just fulfill you temporarily, it will sustain you deeply. You may not have all the answers yet, and that is intentional. If you saw everything clearly right now, you might try to control the outcome instead of trusting the process. But faith does not require full visibility. It requires trust in the one who sees what you cannot. And that trust is what allows you to take the next step, even when the full path is not revealed. Pay attention to how your perspective has shifted. You are no longer asking only for relief. You are asking for direction. You are no longer just seeking comfort. You are seeking clarity. That change is significant. It means your prayers are maturing. It means your focus is shifting from escape to purpose. And here is the truth that ties all of this together. The final step is not just something you take, it is something you become ready for. The reason it has not happened before now is not because it was denied. It is because you were still being formed. But now something has changed. The formation is meeting completion. The preparation is reaching maturity. You are not where you used to be, even if your surroundings look similar. And you are not where you are going yet, even if you can feel it approaching. But you are exactly where you need to be to take what comes next without losing yourself in the process. Because what is about to unfold will not test whether you can receive. It will test whether you can remain grounded while everything around you begins to shift. And that is where the real challenge begins. The moment everything begins to shift is not the moment you feel the most confident. It is often the moment you feel the most exposed. Chosen. This is where many hesitate, because when movement finally starts, it does not remove uncertainty, it reveals it. What you have been asking for begins to appear, but it does not arrive packaged in comfort. It arrives with responsibility, with decisions, with moments that require you to act without full clarity. You might expect that when the door opens, peace will instantly flood every part of you, but what often comes first is a test of trust. You will be presented with opportunities that stretch you beyond your current sense of readiness. You will feel the weight of stepping into something that is bigger than your previous experience. And in that moment, the question will not be whether the door is real. The question will be whether you will walk through it despite what you feel. Anointed One, understand this clearly. Fear at this stage is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are stepping into territory that requires faith. The absence of fear does not define alignment. Obedience does. There will be moments where your hands feel steady, but your thoughts feel uncertain. Moments where your spirit says, move, but your logic says, wait. This is the crossing point where your training is activated. You have been built for this in ways you do not fully recognize yet. Every delay you questioned, every setback that forced you to regroup, every season where you had to rely on something deeper than your own strength, all of it was shaping your ability to stand when things begin to move quickly. Because what is coming will not unfold slowly. It will accelerate. And acceleration without preparation leads to collapse, but acceleration with alignment leads to elevation. This is why you are being grounded before you are lifted. Because when things begin to happen around you, when doors open faster than you expected, when opportunities begin to connect in ways that seem almost too precise to be coincidence, you will need an internal anchor that is stronger than the external momentum. Without that anchor, it is easy to become overwhelmed, distracted, or even pulled off course. You may already be noticing small shifts, conversations that carry new weight, ideas that come with unusual clarity, encounters that feel intentional instead of random. These are not isolated moments. They are signals. They are indicators that alignment is turning into manifestation. But manifestation at this level is not just about receiving. It is about responding correctly. There will be choices placed in front of you that look similar on the surface, but carry very different outcomes. One will appeal to your comfort. The other will align with your calling. One will offer immediate ease. The other will require courage, but lead to expansion. And the difference between the two will not always be obvious at first glance. This is where your discernment becomes essential. Think about the times in your life when something felt right, but later proved to be a distraction. Or when something felt challenging, but later revealed itself as necessary for your growth. Those experiences were not random. They were training. They were sharpening your ability to recognize the difference between what feels good and what is truly aligned. This next phase will require you to trust that inner knowing more than external validation. Not everyone will understand your decisions. Not everyone will agree with the direction you are taking, but this path was never designed to be led by consensus. It is led by calling. And calling often requires you to move before others can see what you see. There will also be resistance, and it may not always come in obvious ways. Sometimes it will appear as doubt that tries to sound logical. Sometimes it will come through voices that mean well, but do not understand what you are carrying. Sometimes it will even rise from within as old patterns attempt to reassert themselves just as you are stepping forward. But you need to recognize resistance for what it is. It is not proof that you are off track. It is often confirmation that you are moving into something that matters. Anything that carries weight will be contested. Anything that disrupts old patterns will face opposition. But opposition does not determine your direction. Alignment does. 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 reminds us that God has not given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That soundness is what allows you to move forward, even when emotions fluctuate. It is what allows you to make decisions based on truth rather than temporary feelings. You are not expected to feel perfect clarity at every step. You are expected to remain connected. Connection keeps you grounded when emotions shift. Connection keeps you focused when distractions appear. Connection keeps you steady when outcomes are not immediately visible. There will also be a refining of your voice in this season. You will feel a growing need to speak with clarity, to express what you sense without shrinking it to fit expectations. This does not mean becoming harsh or forceful. It means becoming honest. It means allowing what has been formed in you to be expressed without dilution. In the past, you may have held back waiting for the right moment or the right approval, but in this phase, waiting too long can become a form of hesitation. There will be moments where you need to act, to speak, to step forward, even if the timing feels slightly uncomfortable. Because comfort is no longer your guide, alignment is, and here is something that may challenge you, but you need to hear it. Not everything that begins to fall away now will be replaced immediately. There may be spaces that feel empty for a time, connections that fade before new ones fully form, structures that shift before new stability is established. That space is not loss, it is transition. You are being repositioned. And repositioning requires movement. Movement requires letting go of what cannot move with you. That process is not always smooth, but it is necessary, because what is ahead requires space. It requires clarity. It requires a version of you that is not entangled in what belongs to the past. You are not being stripped without purpose. You are being cleared for precision. And as this continues, as the movement becomes more visible, as the decisions become more defined, you will begin to realize that the final step is not a single moment. It is a series of aligned responses that lead you into something you could not have forced, no matter how hard you tried. But the question remains, and it is one you cannot avoid. When the moment fully arrives, when the opportunity stands clearly in front of you, when the path requires action instead of preparation, will you move without hesitation, or will you pause long enough to miss what was placed in your hands? What makes this moment so critical is not just that the opportunity is near, but that hesitation becomes more costly than ever before. Chosen one. Earlier in your journey, hesitation only delayed you. Now hesitation can redirect you. That is the weight of where you stand. You are no longer in a place where you can afford to keep second-guessing what has already been confirmed in your spirit. There is a difference between discernment and delay, and at this level you are being trained to recognize it clearly. You may feel the tension of wanting everything to make perfect sense before you move. That is natural, but it is also something you must outgrow. The final step is not taken with complete visibility, it is taken with conviction. There will be enough light to move, but not enough to control the entire outcome. That is intentional, because if you could see every detail, you would be tempted to rely on your own understanding instead of trusting the direction being given to you. Anointed One, you've already been given more confirmation than you realize. It did not always come in the form of clear answers. Sometimes it came as a deep knowing you could not explain. Sometimes it came as a persistent pull that would not leave you alone. Sometimes it came as doors closing in places where you thought you would remain. Those moments were not confusion, they were guidance. But guidance rarely feels comfortable when it is moving you out of familiarity. This is where resistance becomes more subtle. It no longer always shows up as obvious fear. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic. It tells you to wait just a little longer, to gather just a little more information, to prepare just a little more before stepping forward. And while preparation has its place, there is a point where continued preparation becomes avoidance. You are not in the preparation phase anymore. You are in the execution phase. There is something else you must understand. The final step often requires you to move without the support you expected. Not because support will never come, but because you are being stretched into leadership. Leadership is not about having all the answers. It is about moving with clarity even when others are still catching up. There will be moments where you feel like you're walking ahead of the crowd, not because you are better, but because you are responding to something they cannot yet hear. This can feel isolating if you do not recognize it for what it is. You may look around and wonder why others are not moving the same way you are. You may question whether you are going too far or moving too fast. But you are not being called to match the pace of others. You are being called to follow the direction that has been placed within you. And sometimes that means stepping forward while others are still deciding whether they believe it is possible. You will also notice that distractions become more strategic at this stage. They are not random interruptions, they are targeted attempts to pull your focus away from what matters most. Opportunities that seem attractive but are not aligned. Conversations that consume your energy without adding value. Situations that demand your attention but lead you away from your assignment. This is where discipline becomes essential. You cannot give your energy to everything anymore. You cannot afford to entertain every option. What you say yes to now carries weight. It shapes the direction of what is unfolding in your life. And this is why you must become selective, not out of pride, but out of purpose. There are things that are good, but not meant for you. And at this level, choosing good over aligned can still lead you off course. Matthew chapter 7 verse 13 speaks about the narrow path, the one that is not always crowded, but leads to life. That path requires intentional steps. It requires you to stay focused even when other options appear easier or more appealing. Because what is easy is not always what is right, and what is right is not always what is comfortable. You may also feel an increase in internal questioning, not because you are losing clarity, but because your mind is trying to catch up with what your spirit already knows. This is a natural part of the process. Your mind seeks certainty. Your spirit moves by trust. And in this season, your spirit must lead. There were times before when your decisions were based primarily on what made sense in the moment. But now you are being called to move based on what aligns in the spirit. That shift can feel unfamiliar at first. It can feel like stepping into something without the usual safety nets. But those safety nets were never meant to sustain you at this level. You are being repositioned into a place where your connection becomes your stability, where your obedience becomes your direction, where your trust becomes your foundation. And this is why the final step cannot be taken halfway. It requires your full engagement. It requires you to move with clarity, not perfection, but clarity. There is also a release happening that you may not have fully noticed yet. Things that once held weight in your decisions are losing their influence. Opinions that once shaped your direction no longer carry the same authority. Fears that once stopped you are losing their grip. This is not accidental. It is necessary. Because if those influences remained as strong as they once were, they would interfere with the decisions you need to make now. You cannot step fully into what is ahead while still being anchored to what has already served its purpose. Growth requires release, and release creates space for what is next. You are not being asked to become someone completely different. You are being asked to become fully who you already are, beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and conditioning that tried to limit you. That version of you does not hesitate in the same way. That version of you recognizes alignment and responds. And here is the truth that you must carry with you as you move forward. The final step is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to decide, because readiness is not a feeling that suddenly appears. It is a decision that you make despite how you feel. You have already been positioned. You have already been prepared. You have already been brought to the edge of something that is ready to unfold. The only thing that remains is your response. And what happens next will not be determined by how much more you learn, but by whether you are willing to act on what you already know. There is a moment that comes just before everything changes, and it doesn't look like arrival. It looks like pressure reaching its peak. Chosen. This is where many misinterpret what they are feeling and step back when they should be stepping forward. The weight increases, the urgency grows, the sense that something must be decided becomes stronger, and instead of recognizing it as confirmation, they label it as overwhelm. But overwhelm at this stage is not a warning to retreat. It is a signal that you are standing exactly where the shift is about to occur. You may feel like too many things are happening at once, like multiple areas of your life are demanding your attention simultaneously. Decisions that once could wait now feel immediate. Situations that once seemed manageable now carry more weight. This is not chaos, it is convergence. Multiple lines that have been forming over time are now meeting at the same point, and that point is you. Anointed One. This is what the final step often feels like. Not a single door gently opening, but several movements happening at once, requiring you to prioritize, to choose to act with clarity. And here is where your growth is tested in a new way. It is no longer about whether you can endure waiting. It is about whether you can handle movement without losing focus. You have already proven that you can stay when things are slow. Now, you're being asked to remain steady when things accelerate, because acceleration introduces a different kind of pressure. It can create excitement, but it can also create distraction. When multiple opportunities appear, when doors begin to open in different directions, it becomes easy to move impulsively instead of intentionally. This is why alignment is more important than opportunity. Not every open door is yours to walk through. Not every possibility is meant to become your reality. Some are tests of discernment placed in your path to reveal whether you are guided by purpose or pulled by impulse. The difference between the two will determine the direction of everything that follows. Think about moments in your life when you said yes too quickly, when you allowed urgency to override clarity. You may have stepped into things that looked promising but eventually drained you or delayed you. Those experiences were not wasted. They were teaching you how to recognize the difference between what is available and what is aligned. Now you are standing in a different position. You are no longer reacting from a place of lack. You are choosing from a place of awareness. That changes everything. Because when you are no longer desperate for any opportunity, you become capable of recognizing the right opportunity. There is also a refining of your focus happening in this moment. Distractions that once would have easily pulled your attention are now more visible to you. You can see how certain patterns try to re-enter your life at critical moments. You can recognize how certain thoughts attempt to create doubt just as clarity begins to form. This awareness is not accidental, it is protection. You are being shown what to ignore just as much as you are being shown what to pursue. And that balance is essential, because focus is not only about what you give your energy to, it is also about what you refuse to engage with. There may also be a sense that time feels different right now. Moments feel more significant, decisions feel more immediate. This is because you're no longer operating in a season where things can be postponed indefinitely. There is a window opening, and windows are not meant to stay open forever. They are meant to be recognized and entered. This does not mean rushing in fear. It means responding with awareness. It means recognizing that the opportunity you have been waiting for is not somewhere far in the future. It is forming around you right now. You may feel a pull to act, to move, to make a decision that you have been delaying. That pull is not random. It is connected to timing, and timing is one of the most critical elements of alignment. The same action taken too early can fail. The same action taken too late can be missed. But when taken at the right time, it aligns with everything else that has been prepared. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 4 speaks about those who wait for perfect conditions, never planting and therefore never harvesting. That is the trap you must avoid right now. If you wait until every variable is controlled, until every outcome is guaranteed, you will remain in place while the moment passes. You are not being asked to move recklessly. You are being asked to move faithfully. There is a difference. Recklessness ignores wisdom. Faithfulness follows direction even when certainty is incomplete. You will also notice that your tolerance for delay is decreasing. Things that once felt acceptable to postpone now feel urgent to address. This is because you are no longer meant to stay in the same rhythm. Your pace is changing not to overwhelm you, but to align you with what is unfolding. There is a sharpening happening in how you think, how you decide, how you respond. You are becoming more precise, less reactive, more intentional, less scattered, more focused. These are not small changes, they are indicators that you are stepping into a different level of operation. And with that shift comes a new level of responsibility. Not responsibility in the sense of burden, but responsibility in the sense of stewardship. What is coming is not just for your benefit. It carries purpose beyond you. The decisions you make now will influence more than just your own path. This is why clarity matters so much in this moment, because clarity ensures that what you step into aligns with the assignment you are meant to carry. And alignment ensures that what you build will sustain itself, not just for a moment, but over time. You are not just stepping into an opportunity, you're stepping into a role, a position that requires you to think differently, act differently, and lead differently than before. That transition does not happen after you arrive. It begins before you step through the door. And here is what you must hold on to as everything begins to move. The pressure you feel is not there to break you. It is there to reveal your capacity. It is there to show you that you are able to carry more than you once believed. You have already come further than you give yourself credit for. You have already grown beyond patterns that once defined you. You have already developed strength in areas that once felt weak, and now that strength is being called into action. Because the moment you have been approaching is no longer distant, it is present, it is forming, it is ready. And the way you respond in this next phase will determine not whether the opportunity exists, but whether you fully step into it or watch it pass within reach. There is a deeper layer to this moment that you must recognize, because what is happening now is not only about what you are stepping into, it is about what is trying to pull you back at the exact same time. Chosen one. Every time a person reaches the edge of transformation, there's a quiet attempt to return them to what is familiar. Not always through obvious fear, but through subtle reminders of who they used to be, what they used to tolerate, and what once felt safe. You may notice old thoughts resurfacing, not as loud as before, but present enough to make you pause. Questions like, what if this does not work? What if I am misreading this? What if I am not ready? These thoughts are not new, they are echoes. They are remnants of a version of you that is no longer in alignment with where you are going. But the timing of their return is intentional. They appear now because you are close enough to stepping forward that hesitation could still redirect your path. Anointed one. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being tested because you are ready. There is a difference. Weakness avoids movement. Readiness invites resistance because movement is imminent. And the only way to confirm that readiness is to move through the resistance without allowing it to define your decisions. You have already overcome more than you realize. Think about where you were not long ago, the uncertainty, the confusion, the moments where you felt completely unsure of your direction. Compare that to where you are now. You may not have everything figured out, but you have clarity in ways you did not before. You have awareness, you have discernment, and most importantly, you have a sense that something is unfolding that cannot be ignored. That sense is your confirmation. Not everything will be explained in detail, but everything you need to move forward is already present. You are not lacking what is necessary. You are standing in a place where what you have is enough to begin. There is also a strengthening happening in your identity that you need to fully accept. You are no longer operating from the same level of uncertainty that once defined your choices. You are becoming someone who can stand in decisions without constantly looking back. This does not mean you will never question anything again. It means your questions will no longer control you. You are learning to move with conviction even when clarity is still unfolding. That is maturity. That is what allows you to step into something greater without being paralyzed by the unknown. Because if you wait until everything feels completely certain, you will delay movement that was meant to happen now. There will also be moments where you feel like you are moving alone, not because you are actually alone, but because not everyone is positioned to walk at the same pace you are walking. This is where your dependence shifts. Instead of relying on constant external reassurance, you begin to rely on internal confirmation. This is not isolation. It is strengthening. It is teaching you how to stand without needing approval at every step. Because where you are going, there will be moments where you must make decisions that others cannot fully understand in the moment. And if you are not grounded, you may hesitate, not because you are unsure, but because you are waiting for validation that will not come in time. Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10 speaks about not fearing about being strengthened and upheld. That strength is not only for difficult moments, it is for decisive moments. It is what allows you to move forward without collapsing under the weight of uncertainty. There is also something happening in how you view yourself. You are beginning to see that you are not the same person who started this journey. The patterns that once held you are weaker. The fears that once stopped you are quieter. The doubts that once felt overwhelming are now something you can observe without being consumed by them. This is not accidental growth. This is preparation reaching completion. You have been shaped to handle what is in front of you, even if you do not fully recognize it yet. Your capacity has expanded, your perspective has shifted, and your ability to respond has matured. And now comes the moment where that growth must be expressed through action. Not theoretical understanding, not internal reflection alone, but movement. Because growth that is not expressed becomes stagnant. And you were not brought this far to remain in a state of preparation. You may feel the urge to double-check everything one more time to make sure you're not missing anything. That instinct comes from a place that once protected you, but now it can slow you down if you allow it to take over. There is a point where checking becomes hesitation, and hesitation becomes delay. You are beyond the point where more information is what you need. What you need now is to trust what has already been revealed to you, because what you know is enough to take the next step, even if it is not enough to see the entire path. There is also a release that must happen here, a release of the need to control every outcome, a release of the expectation that everything must unfold exactly as you imagine it, because what is coming may not look exactly the way you pictured it, but it will carry the substance of what you were asking for. If you hold too tightly to your expectations, you may overlook the reality when it appears. And what is appearing is not random, it is precise. It is connected to everything that has been forming beneath the surface. You are not stepping into something uncertain in the way you think. You are stepping into something prepared, something aligned, something that has been moving toward you as you have been moving toward it. And now the distance between where you are and where you are going is no longer measured in time. It is measured in decision, because everything that has been building, everything that has been aligning, everything that has been forming in you and around you is converging into a single requirement: your willingness to move when the moment asks for it. And this is where everything comes together in a way that cannot be ignored anymore. Chosen one. The moment you have been approaching is no longer something you prepare, for it is something you either step into or step away from. There is no middle ground here. There is no standing still without consequence. Because when alignment reaches this level, stillness is no longer neutral. It becomes a decision in itself. You may feel it even now, a quiet but undeniable sense that something is asking for your response. Not loudly, not forcefully, but clearly. It is not confusion. It is not pressure from the outside. It is an internal call that has been building, becoming more defined, more persistent, more impossible to ignore. That is the signal. That is the moment. Anointed One. You were never meant to arrive at this point and retreat. Everything behind you was preparation for this exact place. Every delay taught you patience. Every setback taught you resilience. Every moment of uncertainty taught you how to trust when you could not see. None of that was wasted. None of it was random. It was all shaping your ability to stand here now with the awareness that you carry. You have already proven that you can endure. Now you are being asked to prove that you can act. Because endurance alone does not fulfill purpose. Action does. There comes a time when waiting becomes disobedience, not because waiting is wrong, but because the season for it has ended. And that is where you are now. You might still feel a trace of hesitation, and that is natural. You are human. But hesitation no longer has the authority it once had. It is no longer something that controls your direction. It is something you acknowledge and move through. Courage is not the absence of hesitation. It is movement despite it. There is also something powerful you need to recognize about this moment. You are not stepping into something empty, something untested, something unstable. You are stepping into something that has been built with intention. The same hand that guided you through uncertainty has already gone ahead of you into what is next. That means what you are walking into is not waiting to be created from nothing. It is waiting to be occupied. That changes how you move. It means you are not forcing a door open. You are walking into one that has already been unlocked. You are not trying to make something happen through effort alone. You are responding to something that has already been set in motion. That is the difference between striving and alignment. You may not fully understand how everything will connect yet, and that is fine. Understanding often comes after movement, not before it. What matters is that you recognize the moment for what it is. Not just another step, but a defining one. Not just another decision, but a directional one. There will be people who do not understand your movement. There will be voices that question your timing. There may even be moments where you question yourself briefly, but none of that changes what has been placed in front of you. External reactions do not redefine internal alignment. You have reached a place where your decisions must come from clarity, not consensus. From conviction, not comfort. From purpose, not pressure. And when you move from that place, you will begin to see things align in ways that confirm what you could only sense before. Matthew chapter 7 verse 24 speaks about the one who builds on rock, who stands when the storm comes. That is not just about enduring difficulty. It is about being grounded enough to act when it matters. Because a strong foundation is not only for surviving storms, it is for supporting growth. You are not here to circle the same patterns again. You are not here to revisit what has already been completed. You are here to step forward into what has been prepared. And that step does not require perfection. It requires agreement. Agreement with what has already been spoken into your life. Agreement with what has already been forming within you. This is where you say yes, not because everything is clear, but because enough has been revealed. Not because you feel no uncertainty, but because you recognize that uncertainty no longer disqualifies you. Not because the path is fully visible, but because the direction is undeniable. Take a moment and recognize how far you have come. Not in terms of external results, but in terms of internal transformation. You are not who you were when this journey began. You do not think the same way. You do not respond the same way. You do not see yourself the same way. That change is evidence. It is proof that something real has been taking place beneath the surface. And now that internal change is ready to become external movement. Not all at once, not in a way that overwhelms you, but in a way that unfolds as you move. One step leading to another. One decision creating the next opportunity. One act of obedience opening the next door. You are not being asked to leap into the unknown without direction. You are being asked to take the step that is already in front of you. The one you have been sensing. The one you have been considering. The one you have been delaying just enough to stay comfortable. Comfort has carried you this far, but it will not carry you further. Growth requires movement. Alignment requires response. And this moment requires your yes. So the question is no longer whether something is coming, it is whether you will meet it when it arrives, whether you will step forward when the moment calls, whether you will trust that what has been built within you is enough to carry what is being placed before you. Because this is not just another opportunity. This is the point where preparation meets decision. And what you choose now will not just influence what happens next, it will define the direction of everything that follows. Chosen one as you step forward. From this moment, understand that you are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into alignment that has already been prepared for you. What you cannot yet see is already shifting in your favor. What you cannot yet touch is already being released in your direction. This is your Kairos moment, a divinely appointed time where heaven and your obedience meet. Anointed one, stay steady. Do not let fear speak louder than what has been confirmed in your spirit. Continue choosing faith over what you feel and trust that every step you take in alignment will reveal the next. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you are meant to be for what is about to unfold. I speak peace over your mind, clarity over your decisions, and strength over your spirit. May every hidden door open at the right time. May every delayed answer come into place with precision. And may you recognize the hand of God in ways you have never seen before. If your spirit receives this, write Amen or 777 in the comments as your agreement with what is already in motion. And stay connected, subscribe if you feel led, because these messages are not random, they are part of your journey. This is your moment, chosen one. Walk in it with confidence because what is coming is already on its way.